So wonderful to be back with y'all. Ryan and I are here with another juicy nugget. Here it is. You ever have the thought, shouldn't this be easier? Shouldn't shouldn't relationship just be, shouldn't there be more fun here? It's not supposed to be this hard. I didn't sign up for this. You maybe heard that one before. This is not what I signed up for. That's an old favorite. We can thank Walt Disney for some of this. We can thank the cultural milieu for planting this in our mind body that relationship should just be fun. It should be easy. Yeah, maybe there'll be some rough times, but for the most part, um, it should be something that makes life easier and a place of refuge. And we're going to get into kind of the nuance of that. And the hard truth here is the answer is no, no. Relationship shouldn't be play and ease all the time. Here's why. When you commit to a partner, deep commitment, long term, that person becomes the relational vector, the relational um, partnership that replaces your bonding reflex with your mother and father. So any incomplete wounding and connection with mom and dad, any places where you weren't loved, your nervous system didn't register love and care for whatever reason, you get to play that out with your partner. That isn't necessarily fun or easy, and in fact can be very difficult. So Ryan and I are going to break this down, and this is going to be a fun one.
And just to build on what you're describing there, I mean, this isn't like some woo theory, right, around how we how we involuntarily project onto our partner. I mean, this is based in attachment theory, right? That and even neurobiology, right? That we can see that the same part of the brain that is activated in the baby in the child to attach, right, to form this usually dyadic relationship of seeking attunement, seeking care, right, seeking regulation. It's repurposed in our adult primary relationship, right, and therefore that's what leads to such a high degree of intensity and sensitivity around all interactions with your partner. It is you cross that threshold anywhere between few months to sometimes it takes a couple years depending upon how much time you're spending with each other. There's a lot of variables, but at some point you cross the threshold where your brain literally starts to see them as your primary, and with that comes all they become like a composite of all of your attachment figures, right? Not just your mother, right? Mother, father, maybe maybe siblings can kind of be in that too. These the familial bonding system is fully activated. Along with it, right? All of the wounds and the places in which you were dropped, neglected, or made to feel wrong about who you are, what you feel, what you need and want, all of that is activated. So, given that, there's no way it's going to be rom com all day long. No way, right? It's going to be a periodic trial. Uh, the trial being, if there's a headline to the trial, is do you care? Do you care about me? Am I safe with you? And then if the other meets you with an affirming explicit yes, then you get through that trial, and that's great. And then there can be periods of a really sweet connection, security, Relax nervous systems, yay. But something starts cooking in the background, or enter a variable of a child or a visitation to family of origin, and something get activated. In other words, there's no finish line. You want there to be, of course, right? You want a relief from this like series of trials of like, are you safe? Do you love me? Do you care about me? But that's unrealistic because that's exactly what the attachment system is always asking. Rightly so, because you're putting your life in the hands of this other person. That being said, over time, you move through enough of those trials successfully, you are internalized by the other and they and you as somebody who's safe and reliable and someone who's caring, and your nervous system can relax, that vigilance can relax. And that's what we're shooting for, right? I mean, that's what we are in specifically like train men to learn how to do and orient around. Like neither Luke nor I got that orientation, early enough, right? I mean, we got it over time, and we are trying to accelerate your path so you don't have to go through such kind of hair pulling, like, I'm doing everything I can. What's going on? We're offering an orientation. Like this is what's going on. And it's hard, but it is something that you can endure, not just, endure, yes, but also succeed at something you can succeed at.
Yeah. Highlighting a few things you said, the mind, the nature of our mind is it wants to fixate. It wants to be fixed on something that's pleasing, that's safe, that's easeful. So of course we attach to this notion or fantasy or vision of one day we will either meet the person or arrive with our partner to this place where it's just easeful and loving and joyful. Maybe not 24/7, but 24/6, or you know what I'm saying, most of the time. And um what's challenging about the nature of the mind is if we don't get that, then we do create a fixed persona about our partner. We start to have this dialogue, which we may even share with our friends and community, or they may share with us. Oh, Emily is this way. This is how she is around parenting, money, sex, uh, love languages. Oh, but did you hear Luke? He's this way. And then we settle into these fixed ways of being around each other, where the aliveness to discover who we are becoming disappears. And we settle into these roles that are not awake, that are just already assumed realities that um, we secure onto in a way. It's kind of like, well, at least I know this devil, the devil I know. I can learn to live with this. And of course, it's just the nature that we all fall into. It's built around what you're saying, Ryan. I want to feel safe. Let me just assume that my wife is this way and she's assuming the same about me, and our community say assuming all of this about each other. Our work is about breaking that apart, letting there be a possibility that we can evolve and we can change and we can arrive at a place where there is the gift of deep relationship, which is relational joy and deep, poignant gratitude for what we have. What I've seen often through the years, but particularly this last year, I've worked with a lot of elderly couples, really fascinating people in their 80s and 90s that are still working it. They're still talking through their issues. They're still talking about their sex life. They're still complaining about each other. And it's so beautiful in a way for me because I had this belief, well, you get to the end of your life and it's some kind of cruise control mode. And I see, oh wow, I realize we're always in the classroom, we're always learning. And that fantasy can still very much be there all the way at the end. Um, so how do we break? What's the first step? The first step is to know that we just have this default in our mind. We have this default to want it to be easeful, to want to be happy all the time. This is something I hear often. I'm not happy. I haven't been happy for a long time. I'm like, well, um, what does that mean? What do you mean by that? Happiness? What is that? What are you talking about there? Does that mean you don't feel pleasure? We've said this recently. The Gottman Group said most couples divorce when their children are between 0 and 5 years old. Most difficult time in a marriage. Um, how do you endure when the fire of your relationship gets hot because of circumstances? It's going to do that. How do you endure your relationship when the edges of your identity are being challenged? You can no longer maintain who you've been. How do you grow around that? It's not easy, but it is doable with the right kind of support. And relationship is designed to push you into that edge, into the edge of what your identity is capable of. It's not Relationship isn't something that preserves your identity. It's something that asks it to expand, to grow, to surrender, and to open to. And this is where we're challenged the most when we can no longer hold or we find the limit of our adaptations relationally, and we think this has to be easier. I can't do this. Something's wrong with her. Something's wrong with me. And what I want to say is that's not the right question. The question isn't something's wrong. It's ah, there are more skills to gain here. There's a part of me that I might need to retire or relinquish. Not all at once, but gently let go of. And Brian and I can illustrate that in our own lives. But this is a difficult moment because we don't know what to do and we need help. Muted. Ryan, you're muted.
And we're in pain. We're dealing with a very natural biological, right, animalistic right reflex to go away, right? To find some way to numb it, to find some way just to not feel it. And this is where I see a lot of relationships just go into a death spiral in a sense, right? Because they start to associate the other with pain, um, with a problem that's just not fixable. And like you said, Luke, they get into a story, right? They put the other in this role, which justifies their movement away, their lack of looking at themselves at their role in the dynamic. And this is where, it just seems like the logical conclusion is divorce. And Luke and I, are both really passionate about, having seen so many what we see as, avoidable, deaths, marriage deaths. We're very passionate about getting in there, particularly with the men. to reverse the cycle, right? To actually leverage this opportunity for growth, for awakening, right? For freedom, for true freedom, right? Because as we've seen again over the years, that same issue that a man has will resurface in future relationships because he hasn't actually dealt with the fundamental challenge, which is to learn how to stay in the fire of the relationship and stay eyes open, heart open, curious, and willing to see where this goes, to receive help, to not prematurely come to a conclusion that this is just not workable, that there's just something wrong with her, that she will never be satisfied with me, or, pick the justification. And it's just, just to really normalize it. If you don't have the support, if you don't have a culture around you like the one we are building and we have in our own lives, it's so natural to want to just relieve yourself of that kind of pain. Because certainly the men that listen to this, they are sincere men. You have done a great deal to try to make it work.
The moments I think about, Ryan, in relation to that, feeling that experience when I hit my edge in my own marriage and just wow, I don't know what to do, but more than that, feeling the profound despair and grief and some other feeling in there. Uh it's not hurt, but it's in the ballpark of despair and grief, um, where I've reached the limit of what what I can do. The thing that's happened several times in my relationship, and this has occurred in other parts of my life too, is let that pain just keep cutting deeper inside of me. It's kind of counterintuitive. It's not a soothing thing or a coping thing. It's a kind of like, okay, just take me down fully. And what I felt around one of the examples, my wife had pretty severe postpartum depression, lasted for quite a while, a couple of years. And I had a few instances in there where I hit that place. And it was gradual. It was building over many, many months. But when I arrived there and felt that deep despair and grief and weakness, like a debility in my body and mind, like, holy shit, I don't have the strength or resilience for this. That's what it was. I have reached the limit of my strength, which as any human being is a pretty devastating place to arrive at. Like, wow, I can't meet this anymore. I don't have enough compassion. I don't have any compassion left. I don't have any energy left. Luke, have nothing left. And then could feel myself in the days and weeks later settle into this place of peace within myself, this place of acceptance. I think to me, it really illustrates where our work comes from, which is that there is a kind of spiritual basis underneath all of that. There is something that's holding reality beyond my individuality. And I landed in that as an awareness and as a feeling. The feeling was peace. The feeling was I'm okay, still here. My wife's still here. Um, this actually didn't kill me, it turns out. I thought it was going to kill me. It didn't. I didn't shatter into a million pieces. I shattered, but some other more expanded version of me was there when I shattered. And I guess we're pointing to this kind of esoteric, well, yes, spiritual, mental, and emotional experience that there's a pathway there. I was unwilling to um, hate or fight her, or fight myself, or run away. I was really just like, no, I don't. That's not interesting. What was interesting is to just keep letting the fire burn me all the way down to the coals, and then discover that um, when the fire burnt out, I still remained. So I know I'm being a little bit poetic, but I've had that experience in my relationship several times, and it has taught me that there's more. There's more than what I know. There's more than what I can perceive. I don't know everything, and I don't have to. I don't have to know how to navigate it. I have good friends. What made it possible? You, Ryan, my other close friends, very good therapy, meditation, continuing to take care of myself as best I could. All of that helped tremendously. But the fantasy had to burn completely to the ground.
Mm. What was the fantasy?
This should be easier. I can't continue like this. This should be more fun. This isn't what I signed up for.
Hmm.
Maybe I didn't pick the right person.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm not strong enough. Uh, yeah, the fantasy is, my in-laws should just love me, and we should be having fun, and money should just be flowing all the time. And no,
Hmm.
it's not. It's not what happened.
Was you lay all those out? I mean, those fantasies or those kind of wishes, they all actually feel weakening, right? I mean, when you hold them, right? I mean, is that I'm just kind of getting that in the moment, right? Because they take away from your ability to just to ground into the reality of the challenge that's before you, to stay present to right? They distract you from it and therefore kind of weaken you. Is that a way of thinking about it?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's exactly what we talked about in the beginning. They're all fixations, things I thought were going to be true that I discovered were not true, and that I grappled with for many years until one by one they all fell. And I actually could start to see my wife and myself as we are in the moment. And
Mhm.
and really in that place begin to lead, co-lead, co-create, but lead within the space of what's here, what's now, what's alive.
Mhm.
Yes, and what we're committed to and what's our plan, all that can be there too. It's not just be here now and be present and don't be planful. All of the adult stuff gets to be there, but a surrendering to who is this beautiful person in front of me right now, both her and I, who are we now, and can I, am I willing to be with that and pause to take myself out of the rush of whatever's on my to-do list to just, whoa, this is a sacred, very sacred relationship. That's very, very important and is the basis from which, you know, tremendous amount of my strength, love, and support come from. And I'm committed to being present to that. And in my case, not in the fantasy of a spiritual teacher or spiritual guru or Jesus Christ saving me, and that's my one and only true love. That's a big one. It's like using spirituality as my ultimate devotee. It's like, yeah, I can have a deep relationship with the universe, with God, whatever, whatever with a capital W. But the leap here is to have my partner be at least on par with that. Or not necessarily her, but the we space. That we is with a capital W too. That this is something sacred between us and it needs to be honored, not severely, but honored that way too. It's like, no, my beloved is in front of me and her beloved is in front of her. And let me not forget that.
Mhm. You know, the parallels as you lay all that out, the parallels between inner work, right, and this work are standing out to me, right? That there is a, a parallel process that has to occur internally, right, around our own um, internal suffering, right? Um, how we hold it, how we stay present to it, how we practice acceptance of it, non-distraction from it. Because if that's not happening, I mean, we can't be that radically accepting presence for our wives, right? I mean, I don't see how that plays out well, right? I mean, I see what I do see is men struggling with their own self-acceptance and presencing their own pain, psycho-emotional pain, emptiness, what have you, distracting themselves from it somehow, and then being presented with then their partner, their wife presents their pain to them, and they have no the musculature for being with psycho emotional pain is just not there.
Yeah, that's right.
And to take it a step further, I believe we live in a culture that doesn't have much, generally speaking, much to say about what we're talking about, or much to model, or or what it does have is a lot of offers to not feel the pain that we're talking about. Because
Hmm.
it's not, I mean, it's even hard. I'm like, who's like, we have a tough sell here, right? To the like, but it's what we believe because it's what actually ultimately works because it's reality. As human beings, we experience, severe and significant, periodic pain, and we are charged with learning how to be with it, work through it, so that we're not addicted and and ultimately, self-destructive and other destructive too, right? This is our predicament. This is our challenge, right? That all being said, there is there's a silver lining. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? Because as you move through your pain, as we're talking about with others, I mean, that's what we offer, community of men that are committed to actually being present to the reality that lives inside of them and inside their partners. So on the other side of that is freedom, is joy, is play, right? That has a ground to it, right? Is repeatable over time, is not dependent upon, a substance or circumstance, really.
You ever seen a friend out there who maybe they endured divorce and then they're back at the soccer field with their ex-wife and her new partner, and your new and their new partner, and they've kind of gotten past it. They're accepting, they're loving, they've done something that seems so painful and so impossible, and they've discovered a new way to love and be with each other. It's it's what the universe asks from us. It asks us to do really hard things relationally. One way or the other, we all find ourselves at this edge of making tough decisions in our marriages, in our committed relationships, and finding ourselves in circumstances that we would never want for ourselves. If you've lived life long enough, you know what I'm talking about. And somehow time passes, we forgive, we move on, and our hearts get bigger to love what seemed unlovable, impossible to wrap our hearts around, and we do. This is how we're built. We're built to just expand around what love can be and love can do. And love is, of course, radical in its capacity for expansion. So we are the message for inspiration and possibility. There are a lot of anti-messages out there. We should hate each other. We should get rid of each other. We should take what we want. We don't have to put up with this. All of that is childish, is kind of teenage angst manifested as kind of leadership. No, we're capable of much, much more. And you know that that's true because it's all around you. If you look at your community, you see great people enduring hard things and becoming stronger on the uh, outside of that circumstance. Beingmen.net is where you'll learn all about Ryan and my work and our work. Um, our kind of branding is tough love for men. We're working on many things. Of course, we're available for coaching um, with Ryan and I if you're interested. And then we'll have a much more extensive, in-depth program coming very soon. We'd love to work with you. We'd love to see you. And if this resonates with you, reach out to us, even just, to check in. It doesn't have to necessarily be to sign up for anything, but we'd love to hear from you. You can comment on wherever you're finding this podcast, and you'll find our contact at beingmen.net.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Till next time.